What did the weird kid in your school do that you'll never forget? He wrote in my yearbook, when I was 6 years old, I went into a cornfield. I didn't realize it was a maze. I was stuck for several days without food or water. When they found me, the doctors said it'd never be the same. Good luck in college. Stole a car, crashed it, lost both his legs at 17. A few years later he did it again, but this time he stabbed one of the Good Samaritans who tried to help him, and shot at another one. He then led the police on an 8-hour manhunt through tropical jungle by detaching his prosthetics and hiding under the leaves and mud, and using a makeshift raft to escape downriver under the cover of nightfall. The newspaper the next day read, "Armed and legless." Andrew Hooker made an album of electronica called Hook Anthems, and each one was a soundtrack for different mundane tasks of his life. He sold only one copy to a maths teacher, and it's also one of my life regrets that I didn't buy one too. Put a pig feeder's head on the English teacher's car antenna. This is the second pig feeder story I've seen as answers to this question, which isn't a lot, but still more than I would have expected. The albino kid in school. He would take off running down the hallway with one hand straight out in front of him and yell, "White lightning." He was weird, but everyone liked him. Way to own it. Poured his juice on the table at lunch and suction cupped his mouth over it and inhaled it all like a Hoover when you put it directly onto a hard floor. He's a lawyer now. I'm not sure if he'd done this with anyone else, but he drew a picture of SpongeBob and Charizard brutally killing me and my friend and then willingly showed it to us. I couldn't help but laugh, but it was actually very well drawn. I liked that kid. A few days before a pep assembly, anonymously posted signs all over school that said the cock is coming. Teachers and school administrators were obviously concerned, but clueless. Smuggled a live rooster into the assembly and partway through the opening speech at the assembly, whipped it out over his head as it went apeshit. Entire gym full of kids stood up and started chanting cock, cock, cock. Was not seen at school for a few days after that. I'm concerned and pleased with this outcome. Cause, reading hearing the cock is coming before something like that ends with someone on jail. Here comes the rooster. Kidnapped a kindergarten from the bus stop and brought her to school claiming it was her daughter. He was generally very weird and erratic. One day he extracted a huge slimy booger out of his nose, turned around to me and a friend and told us full of glee, "Guys, look." Then he stuffed it back into his nose. One day I asked him why he was so weird and he told me with the straightest face, "The jester's cap affords one many liberties." So I don't know if he was just weird or a secret genius. Maybe a bit of both. The jester's cap affords one many liberties. These are words to fucking live by. She barked at people and tried to scratch behind her ears with her foot. AMD sniffed people's butts at recess. She was 14. Oh, my God. You had a dog, girl? We had a cat girl. She would wear all black and had cat ears, cat gloves, cat collar, and even a fucking cat tail. And she would walk around the hallways meowing at people. If she didn't like you for whatever reason, because she never actually spoke to anyone, she would hiss at you and swat at you until you left. But sometimes she would fucking chase you. She had 2 friends, if I recall correctly, and she would nuzzle into them and purr. She was the only person who acted like this, and she was that way my entire high school years, albeit a year younger than me. And I'm pretty sure she was in the special ed classes. I graduated in 2018, and I often wonder where she is now and if she's still meowing at strangers. Edit, I can't believe my most upvoted comment is about a cat girl. Edit 2, I'm pretty sure I found her just judging from my facial memory here and she has a newborn as of this year. No cat ears on either of them, which is good, I guess. Unfortunately, she got stuck in the vents and never came out. Some say you can still hear meowing in the hallways at 3 a.m. I had an autistic friend, and he was afraid of a particular twin. He was minding his own business in the corridors, and each twin was walking towards each other at different ends of the corridor, with him in between. Frightened, he did what no one would expect, jump out the window. He was on the 3rd floor. Thankfully, he wasn't hurt that bad. When my teacher asked him why he did that, he said my life was under grave danger, and I only did what was imperative to be done. To this day, I don't know why he was afraid of them. He said he was Sonic the Hedgehog. When someone asked his name, he would say, "I am Sonic," and run away as fast as he could. He even wrote his name as Sonic on homework and tests. Most people never knew his real name. Edit. This does not take place in the S sadly, so it's most likely that the person you're thinking of isn't the same one I'm referring to. I'd like to hear your stories though. This girl decided she wanted to be pregnant. She proceeded to ask probably half the people in our high school if they would impregnate her. And then when that didn't work, she brought a Ziploc bag and asked for guys to jizz in it. Everyone called her Sperm Bank after that, and I honestly can't remember her real name. She took an easy task and made it hard. My parents never really believed me when I'd tell them how insane and prison-esque my shitty rural high school was when I'd tell them about it. I don't know if they went to a better one or expected it to be like TV or what, but this sounds like a conversation I'd have with them. There's a girl at school everyone calls Sperm Bank. Oh, my God, that's terrible. Why? Because she had sex with someone or someone started rumors about her being promiscuous or something. Kids can be so horrible. No, she decided she wanted to be pregnant, so she brought a Ziploc bag to school and asked random guys if they'd ejaculate in it for her. There were a few girls in my school who were really determined to get preggo. Several of them actually did. They would be homeschooled once they started showing, but one girl kept coming to school right up to her due date. She was so proud of herself. She kept telling people to put their hands on her belly and feel the baby moving around. She refused to name a dad. Most of us figured it was the football team, the 1980 for Denver Broncos. Now I'm imagining a bunch of guys playing Russian roulette. Who's gonna be the daddy? Come in the bag and shake it up. I don't think anyone actually gave her any, but you never know. After one of my female friends rejected his advances, he proceeded to jump off of his roof twice and broke both of his arms. Second thing, he made a wooden weed pipe in woodshop and then tried to smoke out of it in class. Another weird kid, who I might mention probably had a cognitive disability, so I don't want to be mean, hid under a bridge in town and drank multiple bottles of Pepto-Bismol, and then went to school acting like he was drunk. He attempted to get people to drink some with him, and then went back to the bridge and tried to light stuff on fire until the police arrived. Another one, a true Looney Tune of a guy, shortly after high school was caught with a large amount of guns in his trunk, rifles, pistols and all that, and went to prison jail over a multitude of crimes. Don't even think he was in a gang, just pure insanity drove him to do insane things. So, there was a guy at our school when I was a freshman that everyone called Wolfman who was weird in all the bad ways. He claimed to have superpowers, teleportation, DBZ-like energy creation and whatnot. All the girls said he would just stare at them if they had class with him. He hung around as freshmen and did his best to flirt with the girls. For an example of his flirting, he once told a girl that while astral projecting, he saw her face on Jupiter. Needless to say, girls stayed away from him. He graduated though, and his brother started at the school. Now, Wolfman wasn't a tall guy by any stretch of the imagination, maybe 5 feet at most, but his brother was a good foot shorter than him. He looked like he belonged in 3rd grade. He never got any taller. It didn't help that he always wore a child's Goosebumps jacket that made people start calling him Goosebumps. He was even more convinced of his powers than his brother, but at least he was less sexually creepy. But that's all he had going for him. One memorable day I was in math class, and he started shaking violently. People ignored him, so he started flapping his arms around. Wondering if this was an actual seizure, the girl next to him put her hand on him and asked if he's okay. He growled back, "Take your hand off me. This power is too much to contain." She started yelling at him for faking a seizure, and he went back to normal death stare forward, grumbling about his powers. Makes you wonder about their home life. Maybe their parents emotionally abandoned them or something, and all they had were their imaginations and comics, books and movies. Yep, my first thought when I read this post. One weird kid can be an outlier. 2 kids with similar delusions and constantly seeking attention from peers. Seems like domestic abuse. At a sheep eye we were supposed to dissect in science class. Man oh man, aren't those things full of inedible, probably toxic preservatives? Ended up in a mental institution because his parents bought him a new mattress, and while removing the old one they found multiple mason jars full of blood, no exaggeration, 2 gallons total. There was a police investigation and turned out it was all his blood. His only answer as to why was just in case. Humped my desk for a solid minute while maintaining eye contact with me, and then said, "Thanks," and just walked away. I'm a guy, this was 15 years ago. On my first day at this new school, and I was just eating lunch at my desk, And this dude just walked up and went to town. No context, no introduction, nothing. Didn't even buy me dinner first. Just wham, bam, thank you. Desk, guy in JR. I had an unsightly amount of earwax and was obsessed with James Bond, who he claimed to be his uncle. He would loudly proclaim that James Bond will kick your ass to anyone who questioned his affiliation with James Bond, made fun of James Bond in any fashion, or denounced James Bond's skills. He would literally get into fistfights to protect the honor of James Bond. There was also a girl in my elementary school who never wore shoes and was known for her impressive farting skills. You'll never forget the day when our class was sitting on the library floor during a lecture by the librarian how to handle a red folded newspaper. The 90 seconds were weird. It could not have been more boring when all of the sudden, out of nowhere, the girl unleashed a massive fart that kept going and kept getting louder and louder to the point that the entire class was in full-blown hysterics while the fart continued to rage on. The hero we needed that day, legend, pulled down his pants in the middle of a public bathroom and span in a circle while spraying piss everywhere and shouting around the world. There was this huge guy, tall and wide, in our classes. To support his impressive body, he ate a lot. H'd bring an entire roll of cookies, like 20, and stack them on one side of his desk. Then he would take one bite out of cookie number 1 and put it to the other side of his desk. Then he would take one bite out of the next cookie and place that one on top on cookie number 1. H'd go through the whole stack until all cookies were partially eaten and in a neat stack on the other side of his desk. Then Hay would do it again, take one bite of the top cookie and place that in the original side of the desk. Bite the next cookie, etc. After maybe 15 minutes of biting and stacking, the whole lot was gone. Now we weren't even supposed to eat in class, but he always got away with it somehow. If I was a teacher and saw that, I too would not mess with him. As a high schooler, I think everyone just out of respect would have left him be. We had a kid in our school who sucked his thumb all through high school. No one ever said anything, teachers included, because he was 6'10", 325 pounds. In 10th grade, the dude broke the bench press record that was set 10 years earlier by an extra 60 pounds his first year of high school. He maxed 370 in bench and deadlifted 600 pounds by the time he graduated. He was at a party one year and someone slapped his GF's ass. He nonchalantly said a slap for a slap, then backhanded the kid in the face so hard he had to have his jaw wired shut. It was fucking insane. Also had an enormous giant in our high school that set all sorts of powerlifting records. I remember our senior year, I had to take an elective and there wasn't really anything for me to take, so I took some random bullshit gym class which ended up apparently being a freshman intro gym class. The weight room instructor wanted him to show a demo and I just remember the deadlift bar resembling a rainbow when he lifted it, with a fuck ton of plates drooping towards the ground and rattling. He was this redneckest dude that was probably 6'5" or 6'6" and closer to 400. Pretty fat, obviously, but just an enormous dude with an insane amount of strength. We went to middle school together too, and he was pretty fucking big by 5th grade already. It was hilarious seeing him walking down the hall, absolutely dwarfing everyone. Last I heard, he followed in his mama's footsteps and became a nurse. 3. Edit. Whoa, thanks for the love, everyone. It was kinda a sad situation. The teacher shouldn't have done that, and I think the student was picked on a lot and not very stable in the first place. Sacrifice vital fluids to assert dominance. I bet that teacher had pencils from then on. Lol. College. Halloween party. Weird quiet kid shows up in regular clothes, but wearing a giant strap-on with a doll baby attached to it in a certain way. He went as a baby rapist. Robbed a gas station dressed as a ninja, armed with a katana. Stole cash from the register, all the cigarettes he could carry, and a bunch of lottery tickets. He then fled across state lines with a 17-year-old girl. He was 19. Not a great result for him. I was expecting the twist that one of the lottery tickets was a winner and he got caught because he tried to redeem the prize. Was in the band during some downtime. Some guy kicks off his shoes and socks and bites the ends of his toenails off. Most of the class casually migrated towards the other side of the room. I'm from a small town. There was this weird kid who was a year older, but he was so weird that even the younger kids would pick on him. I didn't really know him, but I put him in the weird but harmless category. He graduates and then decides to rob the local taco time with a shotgun. Well, it is a small town. The kids working at the taco time all know him, and pretty much everybody in the taco time also knows him. He got 2 years. It's styrofoam. And then visibly lied about it when someone pointed it out. Bits of styrofoam came out of his mouth. I had someone similar eat glue sticks in my first school. In high school, I was talking to this girl and she'd been eating this cheese bread. When she finished it, she proceeded to eat the napkin the cheese bread had been wrapped in. Why? Because it tasted like the cheese bread. I was freaked out and walked away. Dressed like the Queen of England hair shoes, and everything from elementary to middle, then dressed like a doll for a year. Tried to hook up with everyone, got kicked off stage at a talent show for doing a burlesque routine. Would work her sexual prowess into every oral report, and her last year she came to school 2 times in just a mini skirt and bra. I didn't know her personally at all, but I've kind of suspected she might have been sexually abused or something. Ran around the hallways making pterodactyl noises with his arms raised up behind him like he was swimming butterfly. I'm so glad other schools had kids making pterodactyl noises. The collective school experience doesn't disappoint. He regularly threw chairs around the classroom, and one time he even held a pair of scissors to a teacher's throat. That was in primary school. He was seriously troubled but seems okay now. Could vomit on demand. By any chance were they a vulture with a fake moustache? Who was demanding this? Pissed his pants on the last day. He was so close. He got caught beating it to lolly porn in the library. Edited to clarify it wasn't me. Also, terrifyingly, this blew up another edit. Lolicon porn is hentai in which underage-looking female characters are depicted in sexual acts. Cut his own hair while in class. Mentioned that he would conquer the world with a revolver. Ended up setting fire to his house and was sent to a mental asylum. Pretty mild stuff. He had a book where he would write in people that wronged him. I got put in for smelling like soap. Was this man very short and very bearded by any chance? My brother is a high school teacher and he once texted me that he caught a kid cutting his pubic hair in class. Another kid, not even from his class, randomly ran into the classroom, took some binders out of a bookcase and started jumping up and down on them. Then he ran out of the classroom again. The weird kid in our school was part of our friend group, so 15 years later, we still give him shit about it. During assembly one afternoon, a few weeks from ball or prom, he went up on stage while our entire year was filing into the auditorium and taking our seats. He was part of the AV club surprise, so his responsibility was making sure the microphones worked so nobody questioned why he was up there tinkering with the MIC. Anyway, 90 of our year has come in at this point when he starts singing Jumper by Third Eye Blind over a karaoke version of the song he found on LimeWire, and he's changed the "my friend" part of the chorus to the name of the girl he wants to ask out to prom. He gets about halfway through the song before one of the teachers realizes it isn't a joke and gets up on stage to drag him out. Everyone is just sitting there going, WTF, half the kids don't know the song, and the other half is wondering why he chose it to ask someone out. Turns out the girl he was asking wasn't even in the auditorium yet, so didn't hear his little number. He got detention for a week for being disruptive, but since then we just call him Jumper as a joke, but then it's stuck, and I don't think anyone in our friend group has used his name since then. Even during his wedding you could tell who he went to school with since they'd ask where Jumper or Big J was. Did the girl go with him? Haha, nope. She had a boyfriend of 6 months at that point. Damn it, Jumper. You fool. There was this really mentally fucked up kid I could probably write a book about. He went through a phase where he was obsessed with JFK, printed out pictures of him and taped them to everything. His binder, truck, locker, etc. I don't know what happened, but later that year all those pictures changed to pictures of Hitler. He referred to this as the time that the devil overtook him with evil. He did this same shit with William Shatner and a teacher at our school. But the bizarre satanic Hitler obsession takes the cake. He was also banned from the computers because the library lady caught him jerking it to porn. I remember once in high school we were on a school camp which included some low-level spelunking. About 60 of us had to squeeze single file on our hands and knees through a narrow part of the cave which was about 100 meters long. There was a small section about halfway along which opened up a bit to allow 2 people to sit shoulder to shoulder. Anyway, weird kid got to this section and decided he really needed to poop. Not sure what he had been eating, but it was a runny one. He was at the front of the column, so we all had the pleasure of crawling through the mess he made because we'd come too far to turn back. Combine that with poor lighting and poor ventilation, and we had a real mess on our hands. Apparently he put a teaspoon up his ass in assembly. Wide end or handle? He said it was the wide end. Proud of it too. A new lad in my primary school pretended his real voice was a deep Scottish accent. At some point he found a piece of broken glass and used it to cut my friend with, for some reason, and then we never saw him again. Edit just for clarification, the person he cut was a girl and she came back to school after going to the hospital. Weird kid was never seen again. Edit 2 further clarification, he didn't always use the deep Scottish voice. Usually he would have a normal sounding voice from what I remember, but then he would say to us quietly, "This ISNT my real voice is like this kind of thing." College. Jude went to Wales for a weekend and came back with an accent saying that was his real voice. Nice guy, but troubled. He was a genius, all top scores. One day he called a friend of mine and said, "Hey, what are you doing this afternoon? Do you want to come here?" So we design a time travel machine. Who knows when he is now? We were getting DNA samples in biology. Most of the class used spit, but he tried to squeeze milk out of his nipples. Yes, This was when we were 14 minus 15. Bell rings. Playground doors open. Weird kid walks directly to the center and screams for a full minute. I thought it was weird then, but now I can relate. He stabbed me with a 2 pencil in my collarbone area. I went to the hospital, but they said I was fine. My stepdad said I would do anything to get out of school. Fuck both of those guys. I always had to sit next to this kid in 3rd grade because I was the only one that tolerated him. He just constantly stole people's things off of their desk in full view of everyone. I would apparently just steal them back instead of getting upset. The teacher decided this meant I was designated as his seat partner forever. One day he was a bit more violent than usual and stabbed me in the upper arm with my own pencil when I tried to take it back. I didn't even tell the teacher. I think I may have just hit him and taken the pencil back. She only found out when I asked for a bandage a few minutes later because I couldn't get it to stop bleeding. She asked what happened and I casually told her. The kid didn't get much punishment for whatever reason. Went to a large school, 3,000 students. If anyone said anything to the weird kid that he didn't like, he would stare at you and recite your name and address. A little creepy. Also a little impressive, honestly. Feel like that power could be used for good. Dave Johnson, 123 Main Street. Your spare key is under the second plant pot on the right. Your room is upstairs, first on the left. Your parents have a very sharp meat cleaver in the kitchen. Be warned. Chew the stuck gums under the tables. He gave me a handful of blue pop rocks. He was actually really sweet. Was it as pure as the stuff in Breaking Bad? Emptied a year's worth of accumulated semen in his locker on the last day. Moaned during the exam. Guess the exam fucked her hard. Someone yelled penis at the top of their lungs during one of my history exams. Hissed at people in the halls and then bit someone at it. Geez, I didn't expect so much attention, but let me answer some questions. Said girl went to my middle school in Chandler, AZ. It seems like every school has a hisser LMAO, but she didn't think she was a snake, she was a cat girl. Why is there always a hisser? Had a container of red Kool-Aid powder in his desk and he would open it and eat it by the handful when he would get bored, usually an hour after lunch. Our weird kid and his girlfriend made a list of people in the school they wanted to rape and kill. Shit got investigated real quick, but I don't know what actual punishment they got. Edit, for everyone asking. No, I was not killed, unfortunately. I also forgot to add that they put in detail exactly how they were going to kill everyone. Edit 2, I was speaking to my boyfriend about this, and he told me that he was actually there when this all kicked off. They were speaking about it in a math class, and him and his friends overheard it. They all started talking about it, and it got out to the teachers. So sorry for any misinformation in the comments. Actually, that happened in my school to WTF. I was literally on this kid's list. This is going to sound ridiculous, but during my senior year of high school, someone took a huge, and I mean inhumanly huge, shit in one of the girls' bathroom toilets that was far too big to be flushed away. Some kid mentioned seeing it, and in no time somehow the entire school was made aware and gathered around the bathroom trying to get a look at this monstrosity. Picture 50 high school kids skipping classes just to try to squeeze into a small women's room to stare in awe at an infamous shit. The crowd got so big and unruly that the administration finally caught on and banned people from that particular hallway for the rest of the day under threat of suspension. I like to believe that all of us were that weird kid on that day. During my 6th grade graduation, our class sang a song. Weird kid is standing next to me on stage and suddenly projectile vomits and some of it landed on my shoes. Impressively, he still kept singing while I stood there wide-mouthed in horror and disbelief. I'll never forget all the gasps from the crowd. The show must go on. In high school, he'd hand out business cards to everyone he'd see in the halls that read, "Congratulations. You just met the most interesting man in the multiverse." Eventually, we graduated high school and ended up going to college together. And to celebrate this, he bought a unicycle, taught himself to ride it, and proceeded to ride it every single day to class. Weird kid. Dan was obsessed with cute girl, Casey, for several years. She rejected him for several years. On the bus to a field trip, I sat next to him. He was drawing. I glanced over. He was drawing Casey falling off a cliff onto a patch of spikes below. Years later in middle school, he also got super mad. Threw a desk across the room in English. Not a small desk either. One of those that's a desk share attached hybrid. Just fucking yeeted it across the room. Was fucking terrified. There's a litany of things he did, but those stand out to me. Edit cause I saw another commenter mention something similar. He also jerked off under a desk in detention once. Jerking off in detention is the play. I'm already here. What are you gonna do? Punish me. In grade 8, this kid would bring a bar of soap with a hole in it and fuck it in class. We would whisper to him, "Psst, hey, how was it?" H give us a grin and a thumbs up while we giggled. That was 32 years ago. Recently found out he's a big shot neurosurgeon in England somewhere. Who would have thought? Edit. Okay, so I've been getting messages asking for more details. So usually during French class. As he fancied the French teacher, he would pull out a Ziploc bag from his school bag. Inside it was the McJivered soap sex toy. He would take it out of the Ziploc on his lap where it was concealed, then licked the tip of his index finger and wiped it around the hole for lubrication. Then he would put the soap bar down the front of his pants and take care of business. Just before he jacked, he would pull the soap out and grab some tissues and shove them down the front of his pants and jack up into the tissues. Then H'd wait for his boner to drop before getting up and throwing the tissues in the trash can. He was a smart kid, so lucky for him no teacher would ever call on him to stand up and answer a question. Good for him. As long as he doesn't pursue a political career, I reckon he'll continue to do well for himself. Not weird kid, but kids. Apparently these three really odd guys went camping together. This is in the flip phone days. Two of them decided to jerk off onto one guy's phone and closed the flip phone. Refused to say what happened after that. When I brought it up with him, he said I was one on his hit list. Said he was going to get a bazooka when we joined the military and come blow me up. They all fucked in the woods, apparently, but never fully confirmed. Two of them decided to jerk off onto one guy's phone and closed the flip phone. I wonder if they did it while he was asleep and then called him so he'd wake up and stick it on his ear. At an all-school assembly during my freshman year, a motivational speaker posed an easy rhetorical question to the crowd, and the weird kid in my grade unnecessarily shouted out the answer. To every bored person's sudden delight, for some reason trying to maintain his authority, the speaker asked our weird kid, "What's your name, son?" Without pause, weird kid stood up from his chair and loudly proclaimed, "My name is Booger." This announcement was met with raucous applause and laughter from the entire student body. It was gloriously random and weird. From then on, the weird kid was known only as Booger in our small town. It fit him better than Sean, and he fucking owned that name until graduation. Kids sure know how to pick him. I know that guy. He started a nerd frat. In 4th grade, a girl had a whole mechanical pencil next to me. She also regularly had whole sheets of paper and erasers. The pencil really sticks out in my mind though. Edit. I totally expected this comment to get buried. Thanks for the rewards. Just to clarify. Yes, it was the entire mechanical pencil. She took it apart piece by piece and just kinda crunched all the big parts like a candy bar. This girl also thought she was a horse and would gallop, neigh, and fight anyone who said she wasn't. So this was pretty much expected by the time she was my desk partner. A kid in my class had a whole notebook throughout the year. One of those big, A4 ones. At least he was polite about it and even offered me a page one time. He repeatedly bugged me about my dead mum until I cried. At least he got beaten up afterwards. In 6th grade, the weird kid climbed up a tree and threatened to jump down. No teacher was nearby and all children around me included were like, "Sure, go ahead," or "What do you even want to achieve by that?" He was just 3. maybe 4 meters above the ground, so no one really expected a more serious injury. After the students lost interest in him and some hesitation on his side, he climbed back down. So no big deal, right? Wrong. Fast forward 5 years. Same guy climbs on top of a 12 stories building and this time actually jumps. I always felt a bit guilty as our reaction. When he climbed up, that tree might have encouraged him to do it properly this time. The guy actually survives by hitting the electricity cables from the tram, which softens his fall, but is in coma for nearly a year with multiple surgeries until he finally wakes up, but will be impaired for the rest of his life. Sat on my lap to flirt with my best friend. Edit, full story. My friend female was sitting in the library when the weird kid male, notorious for preying and making girls uncomfortable, saw her. They had never spoken or met at that point. He sat with my friend, started trying to hold her, and kept talking to her. At one point asked her to join his math club. My friend immediately became uncomfortable. She knew where I was eating lunch that day and left to go find me. He followed her. When she found me, also female, I knew something was up because of the look on her face and the fact a guy I've never met was following super closely and talking to her while she gave really clipped answers. My friend sat next to me and the guy sat somewhere else in the room. But then the guy tried to sit between us and ended up sitting on my lap while trying to flirt. I don't remember what I did. I think we both ended up moving seats. A lot of people asked if I was the weird kid. No, the guy in the story became notorious in his university for this creepy behavior. Girls feared him and memes of him were literally taped to the walls of campus. I think people might even know who this is. Can you tell us your genders? Since I can't think of anything, does that make me the weird kid? Like if you can't find the sucker at a poker table? Didn't see him after that, if I'm remembering it correctly. Allegedly is one of my favorite words. It just makes anything funnier. What this sounds like is that someone made up a rumor that he sodomized a duck and he had to move schools because he was being bullied for it. Either that or he was quackers. Didn't see him after that, if I'm remembering it correctly. The kid or the duck? Years later, after sodomizing a pig's head, he became Prime Minister of Britain. Naruto ran everywhere. Told everyone her dad was Harry Potter at age 12 and most memorably, came to school bawling her eyes out because she said she had laid an egg and her parents had eaten it for breakfast. There was actually a kid in my school who got his name changed so it'd have Harry Potter in the middle. Nobody knew about this until he won a medal for something and his name got printed in a newsletter. The egg part made me laugh out loud. He put a Christmas beetle up his nose while we were at the local pool for swim lessons. We then had to all leave early on the bus so the principal could drive him to the hospital to get the beetle out. A week later, he did a small speech at the Friday school assembly about his beetle nose experiences and showed off his beetle in a jar. This was around grade 5 or 6 from memory, so 11 or 12 years old. Okay, quick edit. For those that don't know, in Australia we have some beetles that come out around Christmas time and are all majestic as fuck looking color-wise. Their backs look like those color change paint jobs I see on cars with red and green and purple and whatnot. Mainly a red or greeny color though. They're also annoying as fuck. One time someone broke in at night and shitted on the table of one class. It stank there for months, literally, and the room wasn't used anymore. The weird kid in my junior school ages 5-11 shat himself jumping over the high jump. The rest of us were impressed and appalled in equal measure. He grinned after he did it. Oh man, where to start? Jerked off under the table during history off and threatened me with a knife while I was on a walk with a friend. Threatened to hire someone to fight me. I remember he regularly pissed off every kid in school and I don't know how many times I have to save him from getting beat up. I almost want to say that he deserved every ass kicking that he almost got. Another kid seemed fully convinced that he was a Time Lord from Doctor Who. Same kid was the kid that hisses at other people. It's a M and I can't remember a lot of them, but those were some big ones that stood out. One girl in my grade at high school, so 4 years from age 12 through 16, cut herself to fill a vial with her own blood and wore it around her neck. Also wore cat ears and a tail to school and would chase people around meowing and hissing and trying to scratch them. She was fucking fast too, especially when she'd climb upstairs on all fours. In hindsight, maybe some psychological issues at play. But she wasn't ever part of the special needs classes, just a regular student like the rest of us, I guess. Edit, I didn't expect this to blow up lol. I can't respond to all of you, but hopefully I can give you some of the answers you seek. I have no idea what happened to this young lady after high school. Vanished without a trace. Did some Googling and Facebook stalking tonight, but no dice. No, I won't dox myself revealing my hometown. The town in question wasn't very large. But judging by the amount of people in the comments, a lot of schools worldwide had a student like this. Yes, she was seriously fucking fast. Like, you better get your skates on or she's gonna catch you fast. Yes, I realized she very likely had an issue that was undiagnosed at the time. I hope she got the help she needed. No, she was not hot. Many people have mentioned they've heard this exact story on here before. Apologies if you have. I've been a Reddit user for like 3 weeks, so I don't know what's new and what's old. I think we went to school together, or this has happened at least twice in the world. Smoked weed in front of the janitor. Edit, it was also first period. He had already gotten suspended twice, and the janitor was in the middle of a phone call with a teacher who was put sick. I had this one kid in my Spanish class who literally rolled up joints and smoked them regularly. Our teacher just recently had some brain surgery done or something, so she wasn't all there. I don't know why she was still teaching. I think it was her last year or something. Shook a baby and ended up in prison. I was in economics class and this quiet Asian kid was on his laptop. The head of the school's ID storms into the classroom and starts yelling at him along of the lines of, "You've fucked the whole network." Drags him out of the class and we never saw the kid again. I knew a kid like this. Encrypted all the teacher's files because he was bored and had to spend detention decrypting them. Very almost got done for breaking the terms of use contract we signed, but he was otherwise a good student, so they let him stay. Edit, I know it's annoying when people do this, but I've never had anything go above 50 upvotes, I don't think, and right now this is sitting at over 2,500 and an award, so thank you so much. It was so fun interacting with everyone about my little memory. One time some kids smeared shit on the walls in the restroom, but no one ever found out who did it. P.S. For those of you who assume it was me, it would not be possible since I stopped using school restrooms to take a shit since 4th grade, and this happened 2 years ago when I was in 7th grade. I don't even know how the inside of that restroom looks like. This happened at my school too. She claimed that she had a dark side, and every time she wore a cheap ring, she claimed that her dad, who happens to be in a mafia, gave it to her since she was going to be the next leader or something. It meant that she is in her dark personality. Senior year of high school. I don't know. I am pretty sure I was the weird kid. So what did you do? He made car noises, acceleration, changing gears, screeching brakes, and steered an imaginary steering wheel through the halls. He was late to class one time and said, "Sorry, I ran out of gas." I wonder what he's doing now. He had some serious imagination. Pooped and put it in the vending machine. Spilled his fruit juice on his desk, wiped it with his shirt sleeve, then sucked the juice out of it. "Fuck you, I was thirsty." He said, "I like your tits, Rose," to the teacher. Girl in my class who was extremely unfriendly and quiet. Many of the popular boys made fun of her. After high school, we found out one of her brothers abused her during that time and finally went to prison. Lesson, show kindness and grace when you can. There's usually a hidden reason behind these weird kids. Pretended to be Goku. Did a Kamehameha wave and vomited through his hands. He throwed a cheese slice inside a condom on the principal's face right before getting removed from the school. Did he have this cheese condom prepared, or did he quickly assemble it on the spot? Was he removed for throwing it, or did he throw it in response to being removed? Threw away all his notebooks at the start of exam semester because he wanted a fresh start. The power of positive thinking.